And hello, DC fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Zone TV Movie Entertainment. With me, your host Jonathan, once again bringing you my thoughts and review for last night's episode of DC's Lantern Season 1, Episode 2. So far, so good. This new DC Lantern TV show. The Lanterns are finally shaping into the DC universe, and I'm so excited. First of all, I thought the first episode was very good, establishing Hal Jordan and John Stewart, a mentor-mentee relationship, back and forth witty banter with each other, solving a mystery together. And then at the end of that episode, spoiler alert, we find out how Jordan gets killed. How, we don't know, but we'll find out. So last week's episode, we have Hal Jordan teaching John Stewart, who's going to be the main DC Green Lantern, probably join the Justice League eventually, we'll see, teaching him about how to be a Green Lantern. Now, I have the other rings on my fingers right now because there's some stuff in here that might lead into these two, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, so we know that happened, and also we found out that there was a couple of deaths on a football field that Hal Jordan had to investigate. Him and John Stewart investigated together. And then at the end of that episode, we found out that John Stewart finds Hal Jordan on the football field, or on the bleachers of the football field, dead in the snow. Why? Now we go to modern day, and now we find ourselves dealing with just John Stewart. But now we get a flashback in this episode. I believe it's a flashback, or it's just an episode dealing with the in-between all the stuff that happened after the events of the supposed alien that attacked those 3 people, or 5 people, I think it was, in the football field, and before he destroyed himself inside the police station because he was inside a interrogation room, and how Jordan was trying to convince him, like, yeah, we all know you're an alien, and he revealed himself to be an alien, and that whole interrogation scene was great. So now we're here in I guess the hours before that event happened, or hours before John Stewart finds Hal Jordan dead. So we do find them together. Hal's trying to teach John how to fly, gives him the power ring, has maybe 5% barrier. He kind of taps it to try to give it a little extra oomph of power before he needs to get his battery to recharge it. And then John Stewart takes the ring and ends up trying to fly, but he ends up conjuring a bird out of thin air. So he conjures up the bird, and then Hal Jordan's like, hey, listen, you know what? Go to my home in Coast City. Go get the Barrity. Take that bird with you and keep your concentration with that bird. Make sure that bird does not disappear. Otherwise, you fail my test. So he does. He gets the lantern ring. Unfortunately, he gets caught in a little bit of a situation where John Stewart gets captured by a bunch of people who may or may not want to find a certain, maybe the villain of the show, a Manhunter. Now, in the comics, the Manhunters were the Guardians before the Green Lantern Corps became the Green Lantern Corps. The Guardians created these robots to basically be the Guardians. And let's just say the leader of this team that's after one of the Manhunters, thinking that that this Manhunter's on Earth, he may not be, teasing a certain Red Lantern ring, Atrocitus. Now, Atrocitus in the comics is, he was a dude at one point. His sector, Liberty, was 666. Yeah. So the Guardians came, wiped his whole colony off the face of the planet, and him and his wife and daughter gets killed. He wants revenge, and he ends up creating the Red Lantern ring. So that was actually kind of cool. We'll see if that materializes in its own season one day, season 2, season 3, maybe 4, if we get that far. We'll see. I just think it's a little early to start setting up the other colors besides the yellow, because I feel like yellow is the main staple of how to fight the Green Lantern Corps. It's kind of like, okay, you want to make a new Flash TV show, but then you tease Zoom, or even Godspeed, but yet you don't want to have Barry Allen fight, the Reverse Flash, who is his main enemy. You want to see, you don't want to, you tease everybody else thinking they're gonna come before, the main big villain. So does kind of defeat the purpose, but still kind of cool that they kind of like a wink at the camera, kind of tease Atrocitus, but we'll see how that turns out. And then of course, as John Stewart is being told, hey, listen, these manhunters, they robots, but they can look like humans. It's kind of cool. It actually kind of remind me of an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. If you guys remember that show from Marvel where the Chronicons, or Enoch was one of them. They look like human, but they're really robots and underneath. So kind of like that, except in that case one of them was good. These guys are pretty much they want revenge on the Lantern Corps for shutting them down, the program down, and all that stuff, not using them anymore, and going for basically everybody else in the galaxy, including humans, to wear the rings. Now, the Manhunters never wore the rings, but they were pretty much the Guardians. They had all the tech and all that stuff to be able to be who they were to defend the galaxy, but the Guardians decided, you know what? Let's just change them up and make them humans, aliens, and let them carry the rings. So when they invented the power battery, they decided to have everybody else have it. And these robots weren't good enough, so they just tossed them aside. So maybe there's a manhunter in that city that they're in Nebraska, that where Hal Jordan and John Stewart are at. We'll find out, but it should be interesting to see when we're gonna get this reveal. Eventually, is it going to be an actual robot? Is it actually going to look like a human who's in disguise as a robot? Who knows? We also get to see Hal Jordan, while John is dealing with that problem and trying to get the Barry from Hal's house. Hal is doing his own experiment. He decides to take the corpses of the dead people that got killed, and of course the body that pretty much caused all this problem. He takes the body and he I guess takes it to the football field, and it was like a metal detector or some kind of, but there's like a fancy gadget there that can detect aliens. So he's trying to figure out where that comes from. And then he goes back into the sheriff's father-in-law, who has this big ass Yellowstone kind of ranch, and her husband is the lawyer, and the lawyer's father is this owner of the ranch. So Hal Jordan's like, hey, where'd you get this technology? Let me look around, all that stuff. Wow, he's making these threats with no Barry, no power-up ring. He's got nothing. So if he gets shot, he's dead. So yeah, he's just basically bluffing. It's like, yeah, I got the ring, but it ain't gonna do anything, So it's like, okay, we'll see how it is. And then they threaten. He gets threatened. Like, listen, you come on my property, you're gonna get shot. Of course, Hal Jordan gets shot anyway. Ends up in the hospital, and the sheriff is like, listen, I told you, don't worry about it. He even starts talking about Sinestro for some reason. And then I'll get to Sinestro in a minute. And then from there, it's just kind of interesting how it just shows how determined Hal Jordan is, of how dedicated, that's the word, how dedicated he is to his job. He knows if he sees threats, he even if he gets a threat that may lead into the threat, he will investigate it, and that's how determined he is to do his job. So kudos to him. And the fact we got to see John Stewart unlock a power that not even Hal Jordan has was actually kind of cool too, because he was conjuring up that bird all day, pretty much all night as well, until he decided to let go of the bird with his mind. He didn't have the ring. John Stewart had the ring to conjure up the bird, and then he gave it back to Hal. And when he got captured by the guys who wanted to know about the manhunter, he still had the bird, and he was still keeping his concentration with the bird. So that's some power right there. So obviously, I guess either they're going to change it to where he may not need the ring to use the power, but we'll see how that turns out. I think it happened in the comic, maybe recent comic books. It's been a while since I read some of the Green Lantern stuff, but it may be that. I remember in the Justice League cartoon, John Stewart can go to his town, his neighborhood, wear his street clothes, and whenever there's a problem, he just powers up the suit. So, and we do see Hal Jordan's suit in his closet. So I'm pretty sure since Jon Stewart could conjure up things in his mind even without the ring, why not do it for his own suit? So I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes a thing in future episodes or future shows or whatever, or even movies. We'll see how that turns out. But I'm very, very excited to see how he's able to do that without the ring. And it's kind of interesting too. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, he needs the ring to conjure up things. Yes and no. Honestly, I feel like if they decide to listen, if he's going to have the ring on just for show, cool. He doesn't really need it. I'm not sure. I think as long as he's got the will to do it, the ring can just do it for him. But it's not like he has to wave the ring around to do things, He can use the ring to conjure up a weapon or two, but if he just thinks about it without even using the ring, he's good. Kind of like how Ben 10, if you guys ever watch Ben 10, there's some episodes where Ben 10, he unlocks the Omnitrix without even, slapping it down or picking it. He can just, transform whenever he wants. When he's like Ben 10,000, he's able to do it without even using the damn watch. Thor is the same example. Look at Thor. Thor's power does not come from the hammer. The hammer helps contain the power, but he really doesn't need the hammer to, use it to fight and use the lightning and all that stuff. But as an accessory, it's an extension to himself, so it makes it look cool. So a Green Lantern could still have the ring on, but he may not need to use the power of the ring to conjure up all his things because it comes from his mind. It's his own willpower that gives him the power of the ring. So if Jon Stewart ends up having the ring, but you don't see it in the movies or even in the TV show, him not actually using the ring, we shouldn't be getting upset about it because the willpower is his own will. Whatever he thinks of, the ring makes it. So if he doesn't lift his hand up to be like, oh, I want a pencil, he can just use a pencil without waving the ring around, So we could see that eventually down the road, but we'll see. But it's actually really cool to see him actually be able to do that without the ring around him. And he was miles away. He was in Coast City. That's miles away from Nebraska, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know actually the long distance of it, but I'm pretty sure from Nebraska to Coast City. Let's say Coast City, San Francisco. I don't know how long the destination is, but that's pretty far. And he's able to conjure up that bird without the ring, and he still has his mental willpower to have it while being attacked and being tied. That shows how powerful Jon Stewart's willpower is, and it's incredible. That's why he's my favorite Green Lantern of all time, and he's freaking powerful. So yeah, so it's awesome to see that. So hopefully we'll see that down the road, but we'll see. We also get it at the end of the episode. We get to see Sinestro. Now, if you don't know who Sinestro is, Sinestro was a Green Lantern at one point. He trained Hal Jordan to become the Green Lantern that we all know and love, and then he decided, you know what? This isn't working for me. So then he ends up creating the Yellow Lantern ring. He ends up creating the Yellow Battery ring. Not creating it, but he ends up finding it, getting it, and then he ends up getting the yellow ring. And then his whole goal now is basically to kill Green Lanterns, take their rings as trophies, and use the power for himself because he wanted all the power for himself. So there you go. So that was basically, Sinestro. Sinestro is coming. I'm pretty sure we're not going to see Sinestro get the ring until at least season 2, if we get that far. We'll see. Who knows what's going on with DC right now with this whole merger situation, but we'll see. But if Paramount decides to keep it, if they're even gonna get the studio, we'll see. The courts are trying to make sure that they don't. I don't know. So very long, complicated stuff. But anyway, we'll see how it is. But yeah, so yeah, this episode didn't really go into here's some stuff what happened after he died, It literally went, okay, they captured a bad guy, and then he died, and now Hal Jordan is investigating him and the owner of the ranch, and who's supplying him. I think it could be Lex Luthor. I think Lex Luthor at this point, if this is 2016 time frame, then maybe Superman already has his first year as Superman, and Lex Luthor already knows, and he's building technology already at this point to stop aliens. I'm not sure, but that metal detector, there was a device on it that was able to detect an alien. So if Lex Luthor supplied it, Intergang, heck, Darkseid, with his boom tube sending technology to Earth like he always does, He has done it with again in the past, so we'll see how that turns out. So that could be something. But somebody's supplying this dude, this guy's, the sheriff's father-in-law with some technology that may be a little too advanced for humans, but we shall see. But yeah, very great start of this show. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. I love the dynamic between Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. I think it's great. I can't wait to see Jon Stewart fishy fly in this show, because he's going to eventually fly. We'll see. And who knows? Maybe he'll do it without the ring. Maybe we'll get a Green Lantern without a ring. And it'll just be his, his whole willpower. Like I said before, it's not exactly the same ideal of how he's supposed to be. He's supposed to have the ring and use the ring's power to create all his stuff, but it's his willpower. And if he could do that with a bird without the ring, who knows what he could do without it. So if he doesn't get the ring until the end of the season, but he's still able to conjure up some stuff, I think that'd be kind of cool. I'm actually kind of betting now that he's going to start flying without the ring, but we'll see how it shapes up when we get even to episode 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. But we shall see. So leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Did you guys enjoy it? Not enjoy it? Who do you think killed Hal Jordan? You think they're going to go back to that? Or you think we're just going to continue getting episodes of Hal Jordan before he gets killed? And then we're not going to solve that episode until at least season 2. I mean, I'll be disappointed and a little bit angry if we have to wait till, episode 7. That's when we're going to find out what really happened to Hal Jordan. He died, and, now we're going to figure out the investigation. And then the investigation is going to lead into somebody, or the Manhunter who killed him, or whoever. And then Sinestro breaks out and gets the ring later on. And then season 2 sets up all that stuff. I would be disappointed, but anything's possible. We'll see. So leave me a comment below. Let me know. Stay tuned for more. Thank you very much, and have a good day.